Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie and today we are talking about Chlorine by Jade Song. Okay, Chlorine by Jade Song. This is a March 2023 release and I'm currently recording this on September 5th after having read it over Labor Day weekend. And while this is a bit later than I would usually like to get out dedicated reviews for new releases, I just really want to talk about this book, and I hope that there are people out there who also want to talk about this book because this is really, there's a lot to unpack here. So for a brief overview of what Chlorine is, this is the story of a young teenage girl who is a competitive swimmer, and her obsession with swimming leads her to want to desperately become a mermaid. And what follows is a dark, disturbed, depraved, sinister contemporary fairy tale that really is just unlike anything else that I've ever read. The blurb on the book jacket says that this blurs the line between literary coming-of-age narrative and a dark, unsettling horror tale. And yeah, I have to agree with that. So right off the bat, we have to know this is a literary horror. And I will emphasize, it does have a lot of body horror in various different ways, and it's just overall has a very kind of like uncomfortable tone. There's a lot of scenes that are quite difficult to read or like difficult to stomach. It's you know, it's not meant to be a comfortable reading experience, and I think that if you don't know that going in, the good thing is that it does let you know early on what you're dealing with. So if you want to get out, you can get out early. But I do want to be upfront in saying that it has elements of horror and also just things that are just uncomfortable. Also, it does include mentions of abuse in various different forms, so please make sure if you're gonna pick this up that you read the trigger warnings because it does deal with a lot of difficult subject matter. To be clear, just because the character is in high school, that does not mean this is a YA. This is certainly not a YA. This deals with mature themes and, again, very gruesome at times in a lot of different ways. This is not a YA book, this is an adult book, and the character is coming at it from a mature perspective, reflecting on her time as a teenager. And now that you know that much, we can get into my thoughts and what I think is going on here. What I really enjoyed about this is that this is a dark fairy tale. It's a contemporary modern twist on a fairy tale, and it does kind of harken back to the disturbing consequences of like the Grimm's fairy tales, which are referenced explicitly in this book. Of course, with it being about mermaids, it does talk about the lore of mermaids and the kind of contemporary understanding of mermaids, but it's very clear that this is not going to be that kind of story. And the voice that this is told through is an older character who is reflecting on her time and this experience that she had when she was a teenager. And she does reference the fact that mermaids in the cultural zeitgeist are not going to be what is depicted here. What I love about this is that this is a character who is talking about a transformation and wanting to become the truest version of herself. And she wants to be this thing and the person that she wants to be, but she's not allowed to be. And she's been continually held back from what she wants. And I feel like that's a metaphor that can open itself to a lot of different interpretations. What I really like is that you can tell what the theming and the messaging is, but there's not a one-to-one comparison of saying like, oh, being a mermaid equals this thing. Like, it's not. I think it opens itself up to a lot of different places to go as far as like what you're comparing to, what you're talking about. The thing is that this character is very relatable, I think, to anyone who, you know, just the uncomfortableness of being a teenager and just, you know, wanting to be what you want to be and kind of just trying to get out of this realm of being controlled by other people, which is just a very common experience for teenagers. But I love that it opens it up to so much discussion because that is really only one part of the discussions that are in here. This follows a competitive swimmer And a large part of this book is critiquing the kind of pressures that we put on young teenagers, and that especially those that are in competitive sports. And I was an athlete throughout my entire high school and college career, and I coach young athletes today. So I'm, very much cognizant of the issues that she's speaking about here, though I was not a competitive swimmer, so I can't, it's very specific to swimming in this book, but as an athlete, you can definitely recognize what she's talking about. And also, a testament to Jade Song's writing is that you don't have to be an athlete to understand what she's saying and see parts of yourself in it. I think that's just really what is so strong about the author and about the character. Something else is that I don't think this character is necessarily likable all the time. In fact, I think that most people would probably not have the same mindset as this character, but you don't have to agree with a character to understand them. And what I felt like was such a strength of the writing was that I always understood where this character was coming from, even though I did not agree or share her sentiments all the time. I always understood what these things meant to her and why she was going through with these decisions or making these choices, even though I wouldn't have made them. With this book being about competitive swimming and just the nature of the sport, there is a lot of discussion about, body issues and just the difficult time it is being a teenager and dealing with the pressures of comparing yourself to others. And it really is about that time in your life where you just feel uncomfortable in your own skin. The author herself was a competitive swimmer for 12 years, as stated in the author bio, and you can really tell that she's pulling from very specific experiences, and this is a very personal book to her, and I absolutely loved it because it felt so authentic. Even though I have never competed in swimming at all, I really felt like I had an understanding of the sport and of the atmosphere. And lastly, another huge part of this book is a sapphic romance, or a sapphic relationship at the very least. And I thought that it was handled really well. And again, it really plays into the metaphor of becoming who you're meant to be and what it means to have a relationship at such a young age, or really, it's kind of taking an interesting twist on the high school romance. And I think it's coming at it with a very mature perspective, which is why I really enjoyed the messaging in this book. But yeah, like I mentioned, this is not a YA book, but the character is reflecting on her time in high school, and I feel like that is also reflected through the romance in this book. It's kind of very reflective, and thinking back to that relationship that she had at a point in her life when she really wasn't the fullest or best version of herself. I definitely think, given the graphic nature of this book, I don't think this is going to be for everybody. And I do think that, it's confusing in the sense of what is the tone? What is, to some degree, what's the purpose? What, there are elements that I think people are not gonna love. If you are not into the more kind of weird genre elements of this, but I thought that it was absolutely breathtaking and mind-blowing because it's so different and really this kind of amalgamation of all these different things, of a dark fairy tale, of a contemporary fairy tale, a coming of age novel, a critique on competitive youth sports, an exploration of identity and relationships. It's really just so much in such a short amount of time, and it's quite a powerful story that I will not be forgetting anytime soon. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and considering this is Jade Song's debut novel, I am just wholly impressed, and I cannot wait to see what Jade Song does next. I loved the writing, I loved the character, I loved how completely unhinged this book is. I found it to be really refreshing, and I think this will probably be one of my highest rated books of this year. So there you go, that is Chlorine by Jade Song. Let me know in the comments down below. Have you read this book? What did you think? And if not, are you gonna pick it up? I'm very curious. I really want more people talking about this book because it is one of the most unique things I've read this year, and I think one of the more experimental things that have been released recently. I really, really enjoyed this, and I can't wait for other people to experience it too. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Jamie. I'm so grateful that you are here, and I hope that I will see you next time.